Hey guys, sitting here with Caryn, just learning a bit about WUB gathering and what Caryn's all about. And yeah, so Caryn, I guess dive right into it. Let us know a little bit about yourself. And I know we've known each other for a little while, but just trying to learn more about what you do. And I mean, that's probably a place to start, is just dive right into telling us what your passion is and kind of your career and your journey and how we got here.
Thank you for having me. My journey's been a pretty long one. So I've been a meditation teacher for about 14 years, and to keep the story, I guess, short for now, because I'm sure we'll get into more details as the interview goes on, but I'm here based on a mutual friend, and I just loved your vision of what WUB stands for and what it's all about, and immediately wanted to be involved.
Cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, we're super pumped to have you, and if you have a gift, as we've been told and seen, so we're excited to have you share that with everybody at WUB. And I guess maybe that's a good segue to dive right into what are you most excited about with the event? Or I know you're doing the 2 workshops, so we've got the healing piano meditation on the Sunday morning, and then we've also got the, if I say it wrong, you can yell at me, but energy medicine meditation, right?
Yes.
And so I guess start with whatever one you want, and maybe what kind of inspired you, and just a bit of background for everybody.
Sure.
With WUB and the people organizing, we've really wanted to be organic, where we have a lot of talented people like yourself, where we can, we left it open to you to a certain extent to say, do what you feels right and intuitively what feels right. And so I guess what, I know as soon as you mentioned to me, that healing and that medicine, and I think that's a big thing in the world. So maybe dive more into kind of where that came from, and
Sure.
maybe some background on it, and kind of what people can expect.
Thank you. So for the energy medicine meditation, I've been studying energy medicine now for about 4 years with Lauren Walker, which is a derivative from Eden energy medicine. And I just find meditation is already just such a powerful tool on its own for healing the body physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and providing some sort of experience for us. And then adding in the energy medicine component, which works with different point holds in the body, so we can actually start to create a dialogue with our physiology. So we're starting to create safety and change internally on a cellular level, as opposed to just mind alone, because it's a bit of a two-way street. The mind will run the body, but also what's going on in the body is going to run the mind. So we need to work on both levels there. And then the healing aspect of it, I feel like that's just been my whole quest in life of, trying to heal. And what I've learned is, in a very real way, we're already whole and healed and perfect. But then on the other end of it, though, every single day our cells are turning over and they're being regenerated and rejuvenated, and every single thing that we do is impacting the way that our cells are turning over. And so then when we start to utilize practices like these with an intention to allow these cells to regenerate at their fullest capacity, then we're starting to be a co-creator of our health, whether that's physical health, mental health, emotional health, or spiritual health. And so it really sets us up for optimum living, for transformation and change, and really just living a life that feels beautiful and meaningful and vibrant.
Awesome. No, I love that. It's kind of that, setting intention, with action, if you will, which, a lot of people have seen The Secret or whatever it might be, and it's always, well, intention's great, but, you need that action, and you need that, doing something, daily, like you said, some sort of practice or tool to have in place to make an impact on your life.
Totally.
No, I love that. That's awesome. So I guess, I'm going to dive into some questions here, and we'll just kind of wing it. And, wellness, or pick whatever word you want. kind of what does that mean to you, or what does, meditation mean to you, and kind of, we all have our own, some people have meditated their whole life. Some people have seen some guy floating on a cloud in a movie and, have a totally, skewered or whatever it is, So what's your definition? I guess I'll start with meditation.
Sure.
What do you define as a meditation?
Sure.
And let's just start. What do you define as a meditation?
Yeah. So meditation to me is its simplest form. It's a stress reduction tool. And that's what it's doing for us. It's impacting our physiology so we can then show up in the world in a way where we can engage with life a little bit easier. More technologically speaking, I guess you could say, meditation, it's nothing more than the absorption of the silent, still place, which I would say is synonymous with the present moment. And so meditation becomes this tool for us to, we're already living, let's put it this way, we're already aware, we're already awake, and we're already living day to day to day to day. But most of us aren't paying attention to what's happening in the very moment that they're living in. Mm-hmm. Most of us are taking their mind to some sort of future outcome, and that future outcome that's showing up in the mind is some sort of derivative from a past memory or response. So we're constantly flip-flopping in the mind between past, future, past, future, past, future. And what that's doing is it's setting us up for starting to navigate life from a place of not being super present, but then also navigating life from a place of fear, because now we're trying to control life and we're trying to control an outcome. And so then when we take the tools of meditation that allows us to reduce stress, and just reducing stress alone in the body on a physical level, on a chemical level, it starts to allow us to then see what's happening in each moment from a place of more truthfulness, and then we can respond more intelligently, more lovingly, with more clarity, and we can move forward more consciously in our activities and our actions day to day.
Sure. No, that makes sense to me. Just and I, and that's even one of my passions in my journey is how do you be present. And there's a quote I like that pretty simple: happiness is reality minus expectations. And I really believe that, me personally, meditation and that practice, and coming into that, being present, plain and simple, it really sets you up for whether it's a relationship where if you right away you're like, oh, then we're gonna have 5 kids and we're gonna do this, and you're laughing because I have 5 kids. But these expectations on whether it's even coming to this event, having those expectations, but really that being present moment, and I guess, which is funny because we could talk about what people expect when we're doing this interview, and so people might have an expectation, but I guess really I guess if I'm picking up what you're saying here, is it really is a tool to kind of let go of those expectations and be present, and let go of that past and future, and just be in the moment. And
totally. Well, let's put it this way: we don't sit in meditation to get good at meditation. right? And in some ways, like, it doesn't really matter how long you've been meditating for, whether you're someone who's new to sitting on the cushion or you're someone who's been sitting on the cushion for years and years and years. There's no real gauge in some ways, because meditation is really just teaching us to sit in the present moment and whatever's arising in that moment. And so then it allows us then to, just like you say, let go of expectations. But really what it's doing for us is it's allowing us to get good at life. It's allowing us to show up in life. I say, waking state or eyes open state. It allows us to show up there and accept, what's happening, accept the experience, accept the moment, and then through that level of acceptance, and we can respond through whatever means we need to respond through, right?
Yeah. That makes sense. I guess my next question would be, centered around that. How has it affected your life, and what kind of led you to that moment where, I know me personally, some crisis and whatever else, where I think a lot of people, it's just, I just need a change. So, I have my own story, but we want to hear your story. And what led you there, to where you started diving into this, and then even obviously now, you've had a fairly successful career, teaching others and giving them that gift. And so what led to that? And
well, we'd have to go back to me being an adolescent, rebellious teen.
That's where it all starts, right? Back when I was a little shithead.
Basically.
A little lost and
like
getting
that.
in trouble.
Yeah, totally. But I was just living this life where, I was engaging in activities that weren't healthy for myself, healthy for my person, putting my own person even in danger. And I finally just kind of got to this point where I was looking at the trajectory that my life was headed on, and I knew that something needed to change, and I knew that the way that I was walking, it wasn't working for me, and that the only person who could make this happen is me, that no one else could do it for me. And so meditation, I'm actually so lucky and so blessed because it was literally almost handed to me on a silver platter. It wasn't anything that I necessarily went seeking out. I was traveling in Australia. That was my, youth crisis of wanting to find myself. And while I was in Australia, I received a phone call with an offer to go to Japan. And so the next thing you know, I was on a flight. And then I was living with a host family, and my host family was very high up in a Buddhist temple. So that paved the way for me right there. I was introduced to meditation in the temple, and then I came back to Canada, and just as everything does, it just sort of started to spiral.
I forgot where we were. It threw me off the outside world.
You had asked me about my journey and how I got into meditation.
Yeah, and how you got there, and then... Yeah, I think you were saying you came back to Canada and just kind of got addicted.
Yeah.
Got a taste of it. And actually funny, we talked about this the other day where somebody challenged the word, it's addicting, and I get what he was saying, and it was, but he said it's almost like food, like when you, it's not an addiction, it's, it's this, I think, something that we all need, but don't always realize it. And there's a reason there's been religion and meditation and you name it, all these things, because we're always, as human beings, looking for something more, right? So it was cool, like, just to think of it in that context where, like, it's food, it's fuel, it's, and once you get it, you're like, ooh, this, like you said, it fueled this part of my life where now, like, whether it's business or personal relationships or anything, well, now you have this, fuel in the machine to deal with the rest of life, right? And so
totally, and I think the biggest thing is that in the scenario of when we're always looking for something more, which leads to what I sometimes call, and what's called in my meditation community, the "I'll be happy when" syndrome. So then we're always seeking and seeking and seeking and seeking and seeking for something on the other side. But what meditation really does for us is it shows us that we are enough, that we're absolutely perfect, just the way we are. And now that doesn't mean that, maybe we're not engaging in certain behaviors and activities and things like that we don't align with, or maybe not showing up with how we want to be in this life. That's different. But fundamentally, who we are is enough, and it's perfect, and that's really what meditation is showing us. It's getting a glimpse of our fundamental being, you could say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I definitely, I can relate to that personally, just kind of that peeling back the layers of going, here's the story, here's the BS I've said I'm this person, and then all of a sudden you start meditating, you're like, oh, well, that's bullshit. Like, getting rid of all those layers and just, I don't know. Yeah, it's a fun journey.
It is a fun journey. Yeah.
Cool. The healing side of things, again, going back to the energy medicine, healing, and how have you seen that, again, impact your life? And we've kind of talked about the journey. I guess, how am I trying to phrase this? I don't want to say what can people expect, because I already laid it out though. Expect nothing but everything. You know, how, I'm trying to think what I'm trying to say here. How have you seen this affect people in their lives? And what have you seen as possible? And I mean, I'm assuming there's a reason you keep doing this. I mean, I know there's a reason I wanted this event to happen, because my own journey and that healing where, you know, I've done so much healing, and you're never done, but it's, you know, I guess talk about, you know, what fills you up and why you keep doing what you do, and you know, what you've seen possible through meditation, or even just doing anything, let's say mindfully, or
I think you touched on the word in when you said, you know, what's possible, because I think the sky is, in a very real way, the limit in terms of what's possible. If we're willing to put in the work and put in the miles, so to speak, anything is possible. And, you know, the reason I keep coming back to my own cushion and my own practice, and the reason I keep showing up to teach this for everybody, is because for me, I mean, it's drastically changed my life. A few years ago, I was in a road biking accident, and I went headfirst into a boulder, and you know, the way that I was showing up in life after that was just very different than how I was before, and it was really meditation that allowed me to heal that, and to show up in a way where I could start to communicate again more effectively, where I could start to rebalance the mental emotional impact that it had on me. And it keeps going and going and going and going and going. I see that every day show up in others, and of course it's accumulative, right? It's like going to the gym. If you go to the gym and, you know, you do a couple bicep curls or something like that, and you're not really going to see any real results that day. You're going to feel good when you get home from the gym, right? Yeah. But you're not going to see, you know, this quick result. Meditation works just like that. You'll feel good in the moment, when you wake up from it, or open your eyes from it rather. Maybe not while you're in meditation, but when you come out of it, you'll feel good. But then it's the cumulative effects of it. And as meditation starts to accumulate in this system, it's really working on healing on so many different levels. And back to those 4 pillars that I keep referring to, you know, physically it's turning over the cells so the body can just work more optimally. We can function better. Mentally and emotionally, we become more intelligent, both on the intellectual side of things, but then also on the emotional side of things, so that we can actually relate to another person when they're in an emotional crisis, and we can dialogue better about it without turning it into this sort of defense. I'm right, you're wrong. I now feel like I'm a bad person, or I don't matter, my feelings don't matter, or vice versa. We can then actually have a healing conversation where something can get achieved or accomplished on the other side of it. And then from the spiritual perspective of things, I like to define spirituality as more of a connection. And so then it allows us to first and foremost become more connected to ourselves. And the more connected we can become with ourselves, the more then we can start to relate how we're relating to others out in the outer world, because how we relate to ourselves is directly related to how we relate to the outside world. And so, you know, for meditation, it's helping on every single one of those pillars for each and every one of us. And of course, we're going to enter into meditation from a different place, right? Because we're all at different stages of our life. We've got different things going on. We've had all different life experiences. But I have never seen one person enter into meditation where it just didn't work for them.
Sure.
Right. Right.
I guess I do want to ask you, because I know a lot of people have tried to meditate, and you know, and I guess personally I've always said that, you know, even my dad, sorry Dad, but you know, and there's a lot of people who can relate to this as well. Something, you know, and I always say, like, my definition is it's anything you do mindfully, right? And really that being present moment, right? Where you know, you go to my dad's been going to the gym, and he goes on the treadmill, and I said, are you thinking about anything else, or it doesn't really matter there's that misconception of meditation is I think of nothing, you know, and it's
totally.
like I've had meditations personally where I'm just like files and, you know, it's just nuts. Like there's so much going on, but I really feel it's that embracing that whatever the hell is supposed to come through is coming through. And I think that's so hard for people. And again, I don't know why I keep going back to expectations of, you know, maybe it's my own personal thing where, you know, I had all these expectations of, oh, I'm going to be the Zen master and, you know, all these things where, it's just kind of funny where, you know, but then you realize it's just really just showing up, like you said, in a practice where, you know, like you said, it really, you do have to keep doing it. And the first time you do it, you know, I think the first time I tried, you know, I was like, wow, that wasn't that great. The more you do it, it's kind of like, you know, if you're out of shape and you get on the treadmill the first time you go for a run or whatever, you're huffing and puffing and you go, that was awful. But then eventually, you know, you do it more and more and more. And, you know, like you said, you are training your mind, your body, soul, you know, those 4 pillars of going into, just being healthy. Let's say, you know, in a simple context, a healthy human being. So I guess really what the question would be is, you know, what's the difference between meditation and what's the difference between being mindful and how does that play out in your life? And
meditation and being mindful are 2 different things.
Okay.
But it's a really important distinction though, because mindfulness has become kind of this blanketed word, and there is a type of meditation that is called mindful meditation, but being mindful out in the world is very, very different than meditation.
Sure.
You know, both you and I were in conversation, you know, we're having a drink while we're talking. You could say that we're being mindful, but we're not in meditation. So it's a very, very, very different distinction. It's like me saying, well, rock climbing is my meditation. And it's like, well, although rock climbing allows you to be more focused and attentive, it's not meditation, right?
Gotcha.
It's called rock climbing for a reason, just like meditation is called meditation for a reason. But a really important distinction also to add to that is that mindfulness becomes a byproduct of meditation.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times what happens is the cause is confused for the effect. So a lot of people think that the more mindful that I be, the more mindful that I'll become. And sure, that will help because we're, you know, working it like a muscle and we're starting to strengthen it. But it's really the act of going into meditation, which is putting you into a 4th state of consciousness, which is independent of waking, sleeping, and dreaming. Those are the 3 primary states of consciousness we can all relate to.
Yep.
Okay. This 4th state is what you call transcendence. It means going beyond, right?
Yep.
So if you were hooked up to an EEG machine, 4 classic points on the right side of the brain, 4 classic points on the left, and it might be more than that, but nonetheless, you're hooked up to an EEG machine. What will happen is your brain will rise and fall with a level of unison, which means that you're now operating in a state that is beyond where you currently are. It's independent of waking, sleeping, or dreaming. And so when we're in that state, it's doing something very, very specific to our physiology. And so then when we come out to our eyes open state, and this is why I relate it back to a stress reduction tool, because when it's in that state, the body is getting rest that is somewhere between 3 to 5 times deeper than sleep. And so during that state of rest, the body is getting a tremendous amount of healing. So then when we open our eyes up, naturally we are going to be more mindful in our day-to-day activities, simply because there's not this intoxicating cascade of stress hormones running through the body like cortisol and adrenaline and epinephrine and things like that. We've now got a higher dose of serotonin and dopamine, among many others, that are what we call like bliss hormones, right? And so that's where the mindfulness piece comes in. And so then the more that we meditate, the more we become mindful outside. And so then it becomes, they sort of pull on each other. Because now the more that we meditate, the more we become mindful outside. But now the more that we are aware that we're becoming mindful outside, the more that we can practice honing our mindfulness and then become, quote unquote, better at it. I mean, most of us are already mindful to some degree, right? I mean, we wouldn't be able to exist in the world without having some level of mindfulness. But it's just the degree in which how much we are, right? And so then that starts to expand, where it starts to become a total awareness, you could say, a total sensory experience.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I already answered the meditation component, but then being mindful in the day-to-day life it's just paying attention.
Yeah.
Here's my breath inside the body. I can feel myself breathing. Oh, I can feel my hand around this cup. Oh, when I go to take a sip, I've got decaf coffee in here. Oh, I can smell the smell of the coffee. I can taste it on my tongue. I can feel it on my lips. So it becomes this whole sensory experience when I'm talking to you, right? I'm looking at your face. I'm also hearing what you're saying. I'm hearing the sounds around the room. I'm smelling whatever smells that are showing up in the room. So it becomes this sort of, I almost said game. It's not really a game, but it just becomes this act of just being more fully engaged with our life. And when we're more fully engaged with life, there's naturally more of a pleasure that comes with that, where we feel more satisfied.
Yeah. No, I can personally relate to that too, and even maybe kind of a side story, but just through my practice, you know, I noticed, I started noticing everything, if you will, where something as simple where, you know, I started my journey 12, 13 years ago, and down in Sedona, came back just so open-hearted and ready to talk to people and just really connect with people. And I think this is something that I think a lot of people can relate to, because we get so busy in our lives where we go out and we meet people and we don't really connect with them. Or I realized, like, just a really simple example was, you know, going to the grocery store or a till or a register and just you throw your stuff on there and you're checking your phone, and you know, but we're so numb sometimes, you know, because we're so not present that we need to get home because we got to get our groceries there, we got to get them in the fridge because we got somewhere else to be. And you know, but it's amazing actually, just like I said, through my practice, just all of a sudden, you know, I've had amazing connections where just you put that intention out there of, oh, I'm going to connect with this, you know, on the other side of the register as a human being, and acknowledge them as a human being, rather than, oh, here's just this person who, you know, pumps my gas or bags my groceries, or, you know, like, and so it's actually really incredible where, you know, I've had weird experiences where, you know, they're, you know, just me taking that, you know, genuine wanting to connect with somebody. I've had, like, total side story, like I said, where, you know, I was down in Sedona and I went shopping, and I was just so open to, had nowhere to be, you know, I was in the mall, and then just connected with everybody. And, you know, it sounds weird shopping, right? But I connected with all the human beings I interacted with, and it was just funny. And they're like, "You're awesome," and they're like, "I'm going to give you 25% off," and just like every store I went in, I got a discount, like, you know, because I took that, you know, minute to acknowledge and see that human being. And yeah, it totally wouldn't have been possible without, like you said, that inner journey of going to that, you know, fourth dimension of diving into, hey, I'm this person. Oh, and I'm connected to other people. And oh, and they have souls, or whatever you want to call it. And there's their energy, and there's all these things. And so it's, that totally reminded me of that. I don't know why, but just kind of like you said, that connection, you know, it really is through healing and this practice that you can connect to yourself and connect to other people. And it's again, it's what fills me up. That's why I'm like, come to WUB. No, you know, it's because it's been life-changing, I think, for both you obviously and me, and I don't know anybody who it hasn't, you know, who's finally made that, you know, when they're ready. And that's something I've learned too, is, you know, when people are ready, they'll make that choice, they'll make that decision where you know, people feel stuck or whatever, but you just hit that point where, like you said, it's very, very, I'd say at least 9 out of 10 times when I talk to anybody who's a healer or facilitator or whatever you want to, you know, whatever people do, you know, in this space, or even if it's just somebody who likes to do yoga or meditate, it always starts with, I was here and I just needed something different. I needed a change. I needed something more in my life than just this kind of numbness, and, you know, opening that heart up and that, you know, consciousness to other people and yourself.
Totally. And that degree of readiness is everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's huge. So.
That, so.
again, I'm going to look at the camera and go, don't come if you're not ready. Or if you intuitively feel ready, come. But, yeah. I laugh at that because people are like, well, you should tell this person to go. Or I've talked to people like, well, my partner should come, but they won't come, you know. It's really hard to let go of that, where, you know, we are on our own journey, and obviously we're connected to other people, but it's, you know, when you're ready, right? And it's just kind of as simple as that.
Totally.
What else can we talk about here? I'll dive into just kind of some more questions about the event, and I do want to talk about, we couldn't get William here today. He was tied up, but I'm super pumped for this. And again, there's so many amazing things happening with this event, where it's kind of organically happened, where really cool things are happening, like the pairing the, you know, piano with your meditation. And if anybody hasn't had a chance to check out William, he's, you know, very accomplished and incredibly talented, toured the world, you know, just an incredible pianist. And yeah, so tell me more about that. I know you guys have been talking and meeting up and collaborating on what that's going to look like, and so I'm curious, because we haven't actually talked tons about it, so I want to know.
Yeah. Well, for the other people who don't know, it's actually a really special opportunity for me. So Paul and I, you and I were connected through William, actually.
Yeah.
And so William and I, we have known each other for, like 20 years. Like, we go way back to junior high and high school. And, you know, we both were in band together. I was a band girl. So this is just such a great experience to have us be able to come together and collaborate. So that was definitely your idea, so I'm glad that you sparked that idea for us.
I don't think I can take credit for that. I don't know where it came from, but
okay.
Yeah,
I know
I'm excited.
You brought it forward to
about
us, though, so that was.
I think it came from, actually, I think William said, well, I can play the piano somewhere, and then I was like, oh, like, because I mean, we all listen to music, and it's happening actually now. It's funny because now that kind of sparked a lot of the other workshops and sessions where almost all of them now have live music with, you know, these beautiful musicians who just pour out that, like, because for me, music's so healing, and there's a reason you go to yoga class, or you know, often meditation, and there's music paired with it. So it's, you know, but then if anybody's, you know, ever listened to a band but then see them live, it's so different, or it can be, where you feel that art and expression and that, you know, purity of what they do come out. And so I guess what have you guys been talking about? I know you touched a little bit on kind of different tones hitting different, you know, parts of the body and energy centers, and maybe I'll let you tell me more about that, because that's
sure. So I know William, he's gone really deep into the science of sound healing, and the meditation lineage that I'm primarily involved with, which is Vedic Meditation. We work with something called a mantra, which is a type of sound, but it's not just an arbitrary sound. And so all sounds work on frequency. And frequency impacts the body on a level that is pre-verbal. So that means it's pre-language. And so it allows the body to heal in ways that were very unexpected, because the mind can't come in and try to usurp whatever's going on that needs to take place in terms of healing. And so, for example, like an F sharp, I believe it's an F sharp, it's for the heart. And so whenever that tone or sound is heard, that note on any instrument, it's automatically going to affect the physical heart, but also the energetic heart space. Different notes work differently in the body. And so what William and I are doing is, his piano score is going to work through the chakras, which are these subtle energies in the body that relate to different organs, organ systems, glands in the body, and also energies that can open us up to more vitality and healing within. And so as the notes of the piano work through the body in this way, then I will also bring people through a meditation experience to these different areas of the body in conjunction with it. So then there'll be combined listening and sound with also heart-based intention. And when we combine both of those, intention with anything, intention with an experience, it's amplified.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And I mean, I think just on a simple level, it makes sense when you watch a horror movie, it's not, this happy music because it's hitting you and you don't know why. And I think, if anybody's ever looked into kind of the science behind that, most of us don't even realize it. And, we watch shows and it's so funny that you can change the audio track and it can be humorous to all of a sudden it's just this creepy noise in the background.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, and how that would really guide that journey and hit those, like you said, your heart chakra or whatever it might be. So that's cool. I'm pretty excited for that. I'm actually I think one of the hardest parts is gonna be deciding which workshops to go to, and I think that'll be a challenge for people. Because that's gonna be magical.
Well, there's so many talented teachers involved with WUB that you've picked out. So
I think it's
great.
Yeah, I don't even think I picked them out. I think it just flowed. Right? All these people just kind of showed up, where it was pretty incredible. Where, to touch on that, like it really is where, when part of my journey, I've stumbled across, like I've been, like you said, it's my gift, and I feel very blessed where, I don't open a lot of books and study these things, and I can honestly say I've maybe read one book on anything spiritual or meditation or anything like that, where anything I've learned has been from kind of this hands-on experience, like WUB, where I go to a festival or I don't know how, and I think everybody has that capacity again, and it starts with that decision to go, I want to change, I want something, I'm curious about this, okay, and then all of a sudden it's, you'll find it's there. It's kind of, I think it's always there for everybody. It's just once there. Now my focus is there, and all of a sudden you can see it, right? I'll touch on that a little more too. Just so many amazing people coming that it's almost surreal. Like where I think it's gonna be pretty intense for a lot of people. Where it's yourself and everybody involved. Just one workshop can be a profound thing, let alone doing, let's say a 10 or something in a weekend. Yeah. It's gonna be intense for people. I'm pretty excited about it. I think on that note too, I guess with other workshops, because you're doing yours, which obviously you'll be tied up for. And assuming you've looked at the schedule and agenda and, who else is coming, who are you really excited to see and go to their workshop, and what are you looking to get out of the experience? Because I know, and that's one of the things I love about WUB. It's not Caryn's on, does her thing. We hustle you out of the room so nobody can talk to you. Everybody who's at the event is involved in the event and also doing this and. Like I touched on earlier, you're never done. You realize I'm in the greatest place ever, and then all of a sudden you do a workshop and you're like crying, and you're like, I guess I'm not. Thanks for the reminder, universe. So I guess back to my question. Who are you excited to see, and what are you hoping to get out of the weekend yourself?
Yeah. Well, I was really hoping to see Anne Douglas. She's right at the same time as me.
Oh.
But Trevor Yellick for sure. I mean, he's such a gem. I know him personally, but his pneumosomatics and his breath work is something like out of this world for people to experience. There's not even words for it, really.
Yeah.
It's pretty transformational. Which I think is why it's called transformational breath work. It's pretty transformational. So definitely him for sure. But overall, honestly, it's just a connect. There's something so special that happens when we get a group of people coming together with a similar intent, a similar goal. There's just something so magical that happens in that space. So really it's just to connect with others, meet new people, share in that same, healing space, so I can get filled up just as everyone else is getting filled up, because we all need that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think that's a misconception too, where and you probably run into this more than I do because I'm more, let's call it, I don't know what I am, an event organizer or whatever you want to call me, right? You know, but I've seen people be put on pedestals too, where it's like, oh, you teach meditation, you must be Zen all the time, you know, like life must just be magical for you. Would you say that's like a fair assumption that, you know, people assume that, or have you come across that? Or...
Yeah, totally. It happens quite a bit, and you know, in some ways, like yoga teachers and meditation teachers, sometimes, I mean, we have the tools to manage stress, which is beautiful, to manage when life gets like hectic and big and full, but because our schedules are usually erratic, they're not regular, we're kind of driving around the city oftentimes, so it's usually us who are a little bit more on edge than other people, where we have to remember to stop and take a breath, because we're always kind of moving to the next thing, and then we're always holding space for so many people, right? So we need to make sure that we get that healing time in for ourselves.
Definitely. Yeah, no, and I can imagine that's a challenge too, is, you know, holding that space. Like, I know, again, personally, I looked in at one point, I'm like, oh, am I a healer? Am I this? You know, and kind of on my own journey, trying to figure out what my purpose was. And dabbled down that a little, but I know, like anybody, whether it's just, you know, you're that person for your friends who everybody, you know, it can get really heavy, right? And so it's, I'm excited for you and everybody else to, you know, have that exchange of that gift, like just filling people up and getting filled up, right?
Totally.
So I'll ask you this question.
Sure.
I don't know if you want to answer it, but just some quirky things, you know, like what would you say your spirit animal is? Are you willing to share that?
I know we had a conversation about this before. Personally, I don't want to share my spirit animal. Okay. It's something that's really close to me. But I'll share my power animal, though. My power animal is a cougar.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I do. I'm not going to touch that. No. I feel like I'm coming into my cougar phase.
I never really thought about that.
Not to say. I think you're too young to be a cougar yet.
I'm still in my 30s, so I think I'm okay.
You're not quite there, but sorry. I'm like, I have no filter. You probably know that.
It's perfect.
And I guess I will ask though, because I'm curious, and other people might be curious. You know, why about spirit animal and why you know. I know some people are like, what the hell are they talking about, right? You know, spirit animals and all that, and just to really quick clarify, like what's the reason for not sharing? And I know.
Sure. Some people are fine sharing it. For me, it's just one of those personal things. Like when I think of spirit, and this comes nothing from some sort of like Native American tradition. This is just my belief behind it. But when I think of the word spirit, I think of like essence or soul. And so then if I'm sharing with someone, you know, kind of what my soul essence is, I'm also giving them access to both my strengths and my powers, and also my like weaknesses and limitations. Yeah. Which, if you think of that more from like a battle perspective, not that anyone's battling here, but from a battle perspective, like when someone knows that information, then they can really kind of quote unquote attack you. And again, like we're not attacking each other, and I know that, but it's just something that I've always just kind of kept really close to myself. That's just been more for me and no one else. It's just a personal thing. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. And I mean, going back to, like you said, it's not being that attack, but there's a lot of energies flowing and coming and going, and it's just, I guess, the way I'm interpreting it to a certain extent, or resonating with me, where I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because sometimes I need to, you know, go out in the world and there's, you know, hundreds of people around me, and I just need to keep my energy with me because that's mine, you know, and there's, you know, nothing wrong with being a little selfish and, you know, creating that force field, if you will, and that power of this is my power, and I share what I want to share, and I don't share what I don't want to share, and I'll deflect what I want to deflect, you know, and so I can appreciate that.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I think, you know, we've touched on a lot of things here, and obviously love diving into your brain there, your brain and your soul and your being, and you know what you're all about. And you know, we're blessed to have you join us at WUB and share your gifts. And yeah, thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you. I feel so blessed to be part of it. So it's pretty special what you're creating, Paul. So
thanks.
Yeah.
See, I get nervous when you're like, I'm creating. I'm like, I'm not even doing it. It's the universe. I'm this vessel. Like, just make it happen.
It takes a village.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. I can't take all the credit at all. So yeah, appreciate that. And then, yeah. Cool.
Thanks.
I'm gonna give you a hug.
Aw.
I feel like that's a good way to.
I'll take hugs.